Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade. The Call to Arms update for VALHEIM is now live for everyone. It went live a couple of hours ago, so make sure you restart your Xbox or go ahead and go offline online on Steam. If you've been playing quite a while, it should pop up. Huge amount of improvements, massive revamps for Forsaken powers, all new grenade bombs that will summon pet blobs, as well as of course the new bears and armors and weapons associated. Of course the big thing is the adrenaline system with all new trinkets. I've already done a detailed patch notes when the update went live on PTB, and there were some changes, so I'm going to rattle off a quicker TLDR that you need to know and just go over the highlights. So yes, there are now bears in the game. You'll find them in the Black Forest, sometimes close to the edge. I do feel like maybe marauding into the plains very occasionally, or the meadows. But the Black Forest is probably where you want to start off. These bears are pretty powerful, but they're quite slow and lumbering. They do go up to 2-star level, so you will obviously find some much difficult than others. And while you can see them eating blueberries if you chuck them on the floor, they are not tameable yet. They're weak to fire, so get your torch out if all else fails, maybe you can scare it away. Otherwise your best bet is going to be things like slash, lightning and poison, but don't really use any frost, blunt or pierce. And they'll take absolutely no damage from spirit, chop or pickaxe. Drop wise, you'll get 1 bear paw, 2 bear meat, 4 bear hide and a 10% chance of a trophy dropping from just a regular one. That increases for 1-star bear by double, but still only a 10% chance of a trophy, and triples the amount for a 2-star bear, but again only a 10% chance for a trophy, which you're going to need to go ahead and craft the headdress for the brand new bear armor. So yes, it is adding another progression layer now for unarmed builds. Armor wise, on the headdress you will get 30% health regen, 15% stamina regen. Damage modifiers are going to be weak against blunt, slash and pierce, but your slash and chopping will get an extra 10% boost in attack. Of course, them effects that are just listed off will only be relevant if you've got all 3 pieces equipped. The paws of the bear, the unarmed new fist weapons, are obviously going to be good for slashing damage. And so progression now, something looks like getting the bear gear set if you're going unarmed, then obviously finding some of the Fenrir gear eventually in the mountains before finishing off with the Vile set in the plains. So the Vile, they're pretty much undead bears, will roam around the plains at night time, and they've changed it now. They won't aggro against any of the Fulins and others, so they're pretty much in line with the faction. I think the original idea was that the undead obviously is a different type of faction. And even more so than regular bears, they will actually run away from fire if they get within 3 meters of a fire source. So definitely have your torches ready to go as you try and take this guy on. Drops wise, you'd only get 1 bear hide, 2 bear meat, but you'd also get 8% chance of getting rotten meat, plus a vile ribcage 1 to 2, and a vile trophy 10% of dropping. There are no star variants to this guy, has over 1200 health, so definitely something a bit chunky. And of course, just like other undead creatures, it's also weak to spirit. Slight difference in some of its resistances and weaknesses. It's neutral to frost and lightning, resistant to blunt, slash and pierce, and immune to poison, chop and pickaxe. But again, I guess that falls in line with other undead creatures. You'll be able to make the Vile armor set, which basically has a better stat line than the bear armor, where you'll be slightly weak versus blunt, slash and pierce, but you'll do 20% blunt damage and extra 20% pierce damage, with health regain of 20% and stamina regain of 40%. So let's rattle off the patch notes somewhat and go deeper into some of the stuff. Trinkets, equip these items to gain adrenaline during battles. Perfect blocking, making sure that you're doing lots of hits, will give you temporary perks. You also gain adrenaline by using your Forsaken powers and using certain magic attacks. And not forgetting perfect dodges. I still think it's a bit kind of weird that you need a trinket to activate this ability. It really does feel like it should just be implemented alongside stamina and health, but it does fulfill purpose, and it does mean that it should make the game slightly easier for players that invest in this. Holding a trinket also means you can still hold your utility item, so don't worry, you don't have to give up something like your belt. And yeah, really maximize the kind of build you're going for by making sure you've got the right trinket to unleash the right powers. The adrenaline bar does go down if you're not in combat, so it will actually go down quite quick. I do believe you get like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that before it starts going down. And yeah, there's just good uses now for a lot of resources and items that maybe have just been rotting away in your chest. Pretty much mainly though the trophies, finally some extra big uses. New wooden weapons. At the moment it's only the sword that you can craft, the rest need to be found in various locations around the world. I might do a video on every location, but you get the idea. It's going to be in some hard places, like finding the sledgewood in swamp runestone towers, or a wooden atgear found in a plains chest. But yeah, they'll allow you to practice combat with your friends without doing damage to them. We've obviously already covered the bears, so let's move on to some of the new materials. There's a brand new item you can now buy from a witch, which will be blob vials, and then these can be converted into various different bombs. So onto them bombs, yes, there's a whole bunch of them. Poison, oozer, tar, lava and frost, all doing their respective effects that you probably can guess, requiring trophies from each one of certain enemies. With some changes, the frost one was previously a golem, but now instead it's going to be a drake trophy. I think these can be good for distraction. They will do damage to you as well if they get close enough, so don't throw it at your feet. And as you might expect, they're not going to do damage against creatures within their same faction. So basically, if they come from that biome, they're probably not going to do anything against them. But anything else, they can absolutely get you out of a sitch, or at least cause a distraction while you make an escape perhaps. So alongside all the wooden weapons like the atgun, knife, sledge, spear, mace, etc., you've got the new fist weapons, Paws of the Bear and the Vile Bone Maul Claws. Plus 2 new battle axes, a black metal battle axe and the skull splitter. Some of the other materials: ectoplasm, ghost trophy, bear hide, bear trophy, bear paw, vile trophy and vile ribcage. There is also a brand new sweatband hat that you can buy. I'm guessing that is from Hilda. There are some new build pieces, combat practice for archery now with the target, and their new battle brother, although that's what it used to be called, it's now called Twig. You'll need ectoplasm to go ahead and craft it, which you get from the ghosts, and it'll act as a crash test dummy for you to practice combat with. Bunch of new hairstyles been added: mullet, castellan and Vinland shave, as well as new beard styles. And before I finish off with lots of the update patches and fixes, let's go and take a look at the trinkets. So they have changed how or where you craft trinkets. It's now at the forge, and anything in the Mistlands or Ashlands now crafted at the Black Forge. So Heart of the Forest is probably the first one you might come across. You need 5 bronze, 5 ancient seeds and a grey dwarf shaman trophy. What it should do is give you increased health regen by about 25%, so that lasts a minute. And you can see the adrenaline bar is going to be 50, so that's how much you're going to have to get your adrenaline up before it triggers. Of course, you might have to hunt down the brand new creature, the bear, for this one. 5 bronze, 1 bear trophy and 3 rubies, and that's going to give you a stamina regen of plus 25%. The effect duration lasts 1 minute. Then we've got the nimble anklet, 5 iron, 5 withered bone, a circling trophy, stamina gain of 50, movement speed of plus 15, lasts for 30 seconds, adrenaline 60. Next up we've got the iron brooch, 5 iron, 5 ancient bark and a leech trophy. That's going to give you a health gain of 50, an armor of 20, but it only lasts for 30 seconds, and you're going to need to get your adrenaline up to 65. Fins of Destiny, 5 chitin, 5 serpent scales and a serpent trophy. Going to give you swim speed of plus 50%, swim stamina usage of minus 80%, and it will last for 2 minutes. Wolf Sight, 5 silver, 5 wolf fangs, 1 Fenrir trophy. Bows do 20 damage extra, so do spears, and you get 10% pierce damage. That only lasts for 30 seconds. But adrenaline's only 55. Crystal Heart, 5 silver, 5 crystal, Stone Golem trophy. It's going to give you slight resistant versus blunt and slash and pierce. It will last for 50 seconds. So for the planes, we've got the Evasion Mantle, 5 black metal, a Fueling Berserker trophy and 10 linen thread. That gives you a block stamina usage of minus 50%, parry bonus of 50%, dodge plus 20, and it will last 2 minutes. Then we've got Bracelets of the Brave, 5 black metal, 5 Locks Bell and a Locks trophy. That's going to give you 100 health gain plus 20 actual damage with clubs and an extra 10% blunt damage. And that will last a full minute, but it does have a much larger adrenaline bar, so you're going to have to get all the way up to 85. And then we've got 2 based in the Mistlands, 5 Carapace, 5 Refined Eater, Godal trophy for the Pulsating Earrings, and that's going to give you an Eater regen of 25%. And that will last for 60 seconds. And then Resounding Shackle, 5 Etra, 5 Scale Hides, 1 Mandible and 1 Seeker trophy, 100 stamina gain, 10% increase in slashing damage, and that will last for 60 seconds. Then we've got John Mundlin, 5 Flametal, 5 Refined Etra, 1 Bloodstone and a Fallen Valkyrie trophy. Etra gain of 100, Elemental Magic plus 20, Blood Magic plus 20, and again it lasts for a whole minute. but you will need adrenaline of 70 for that one. And we've got Brimstone, 5 for the metal, 5 sulfur, 1 molten core and a Morgan trophy. Gives you a health gain of 100 and a stamina gain of 100. And while some things have been slightly nerfed during the PTB, it does look like actually the trinkets remain the way. So you can find really optimized ways to equip different trinkets, as the buffs will carry on lasting even if you swap. And what about inventory sizes? Well, the devs are looking into it. They've heeded your call and have spoken publicly on Reddit and X account about different ways that they could potentially add some way to increase inventory in the future, whether it's backpacks, whether it's some other extra armor slots. So bear that in mind. That will happen probably more than likely with 1.0 though. Magic gear has been slightly nerfed with the adrenaline system. It was given extra adrenaline with each hit, but now it's with one use using the Staff of Embers and the Staff of Fracturing. Staff of Frost projectiles only gets 1 adrenaline per hit instead of 2 per hit. You will gain adrenaline now using area attacks using sledges and other weapons. They've reduced the Skull Splitter to be crafted at level 1 instead of level 3 at the Black Forge. The wooden greatsword is now repairable at the workbench, and some of the other weapons are a bit harder to find, as I mentioned in some of them locations. Movement speed penalty has been reduced for battle axes, sledgehammers and tower shields, and yes, you can now fight on slopes a bit easier and better. Forsaken powers have all had a major boost, and they all remain the same despite an update to the PTB. Ekfir's got 60% reduced stamina usage for running, jumping and swimming. The Elder's got a 60% chopping and mining damage increase, plus another 30% health regen. Bonas gives you 25% resistance against pierce, slash and blunt damage, 100% reduced block stamina usage, and you get 5 stamina on each return per block. Modup will always give you tailwind. You'll have 300 increased carry weight, 10% increased movement speed and 50% frost resistance. Yagluth gets 50% lightning resistance, 25 plus to your farm skill and 10% increased damage. And the Queen, 100% increase Idra regeneration, 100% reduced sneak and 50% poison resistance. And not forgetting Fader, 100% adrenaline increase, 50% reduced stagger meter modifier plus 50% fire resistance. You can place a whole bunch of items now on stands, including Barley Flower, Tankard, Ancient Sea, Dragon Tear, Vulture Red, Cores, Padded Helmet, Carapace Helm, Fresh Seaweed, Fragrant Bundle, Thistle and Celestial Feather. Plus improvements to item stand positions and orientation, more or less everything else. A lot of old style hair names have been revamped, updated localization, ghost visual overhaul, so that's where you can get your ectoplasm, remember, and an upgrade to the Unity engine. And there's a whole ton of bug fixes, some including fixes for community servers not being listed on non-Steam platforms, UGC text not filtered properly when the author is a Mac App Store user who hasn't logged into the Game Center at time of writing, fixed log spam when nearby or viewing hover text for signs, tamed animals and portals without text name tag, fixed the bug that showed text hidden, check UG settings for UGC written by muted players, fixed the bug that caused the shield generator to not take damage if it was network owned by a different client than whatever dealt damage to it, fixed join code in pause menu not being hidden when toggling off HUD visibility, fixed join code copy to clipboard functionality, improved how block list is synchronized between local storage and cloud storage, fixed input loss in UI at low frame rates, fixed select button not properly working when using Xbox One controller on Mac, fixed a bug that allowed tab navigation when various pop-ups in the world and server selection menus were open, added the option in the settings menu to enable developer console, -console overrides the setting, fixed the bug that caused integers with a value of 0 to be reset to the default value when loading a world save file, fixed the bug that made it possible to copy the join code with gamepad even when there was none, also modded text in start menu has been moved, you can no longer dodge while over encumbered, stairs at a stone portal should now be climbable, carvings on Fader sacrificial stone now have more emission to match other sacrificial stones. Looking at a beehive while another player disconnects from server no longer causes the game to crash. There's no longer null reference exceptions when some projectiles hit the shield generator. Fixed the bug that caused the GUI to not update matchmaking data immediately when updating the server from join code, and updated more localization. There are a bunch of server improvements which I'm not going to go through, but definitely a huge amount fixed. And various bugs for Steam only and Xbox only that have been fixed, mainly to do with joining other people and when you've paused your game. So there you go, that's everything you need to know about the Call to Arms update. I think it's really good, absolutely makes things a little bit easier and progression nice for other classes, and definitely a revamp of the powers was needed. So let me know what you think about it, and hopefully I'll be having time to do some more guides soon. Laters.